If we're talking about retention, we've been relying on someone actually picking up the phone and calling the kid that is at risk. This is not scalable. There's no way to democratize advanced analytics if the human has to be there at the very end.
Hello, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Chris Tech Chat. Today, we will focus on the role and evolution of data, analytics, and AI agents in higher education. I'm Chris Harrison, CEO of Talentus Global. We are a US-based BPO and top nearshore outsourcing provider of tech talent software services with deep expertise on higher ed and the X sector, with a global footprint across Latin America and Europe. Today, we're joined by Miguel Molina, who is the founder and CEO of Analytikus, which is an edtech company focused on personalizing education by enabling AI solutions in order to improve learning, teaching, and student success. Miguel has over 20 years of experience in advanced analytics, AI, and digital transformation. Back in 2015, he founded Analytikus, a company specialized in advanced analytics and AI applied to higher education with a presence in Latin America, the US, and Europe. Through Analytikus, Miguel has championed a clear vision to help institutions and educations turn data into action. The company works with universities and higher education institutions to integrate academic, administrative, and learning data, converting to actionable intelligence and drive decisions using predictive models, advanced analytics, and artificial intelligence agents. Miguel is a strong advocate for a more personalized, predictive, and human-centered education, where technology does not replace human judgment, but rather amplifies institutions' ability to better support each student. His work focuses particularly on how AI can help universities and academic teams make better decisions, intervene in a timely manner, and create more relevant educational experiences. Before founding Analytikus, Miguel held key positions at Intellego USA and World Climate Credit in Switzerland, where he deepened his expertise in information management, technology, and analytical models applied to various sectors. He holds a degree in information systems from Tecnológico de Monterrey and also has pursued studies in leadership and entrepreneurship at institutions such as University of Essex, Berkeley, and ESE. Lastly, for those that do know Miguel is fluent in Spanish, English, and Italian. He currently resides in Spain with his family, and on his personal side, he is passionate about genealogy and has a lifelong interest in history, education, and the impact of technology on society. So with this in mind, Miguel, welcome to the podcast. And by the way, congrats on your 10-year anniversary with Analytikus.
Thank you, Chris, and thank you for having me. It's great seeing you.
Absolutely. I think you and I go back in our previous lives, a number of years. We crossed our path in the past in higher ed, both having, have had great experience in the sector, and both of us being passionate about what we do and the impact that we provide in higher ed through, student success and other subjects. So today, I think we got some great questions for you. I think the audience will appreciate your perspective, specifically on the role of and the evolution of data analytics and AI agents in higher education. The first sort of question to trigger the thought process in you and us is how, from your perspective, how are higher ed institutions moving from dashboards and reporting to actionable decision-making outcomes, which is something that if you see the evolution of the last 10 years, is really where it started. They build the dashboards, right? They build the reporting on it, but there was no action behind it. So from your perspective, how has that actionable decision-making outcomes evolved over the last decade or so?
Yeah, that's a great question. Thank you, Chris. I think my company and every single company that is in the space of analytics, we've been overusing reports and dashboards. That's been our deliverable at the end of the road for a decade or more. Generative AI is here to change that because we've been relying, in order to have an impact with advanced analytics, we've been relying on the human component. And a couple of examples, if we're talking about retention, we've been relying on someone actually picking up the phone and calling the kid that is at risk. This is not scalable. There's no way to democratize advanced analytics if the human has to be there at the very end. So generative AI, and now, as we've all heard, this is the era of agents, is simplifying, reaching the end of the road, is reaching the prospect, is reaching the faculty member, is reaching the student at risk, is jumpstarting a workflow that is going to end up with a meeting. So the closer we get to the impact line, the better our analytics are going to be and actually making or having an impact.
So you hit on an interesting point, the human factor. So do you think it's more on the human side of it versus the technology that is available? And when we talk about the human side of it, do you think governance plays a key role in the success of a strategy like that?
Yeah. So I think the A from AI we should change it from artificial to augmented. This is the case that we should aim at. So the human has to be in the loop. I think from an ethical perspective, from a human perspective, the human has to be in the loop. But what technology is actually doing, or what we should attempt, is for humans to have this kind of exoskeleton, to be augmented in the sense of, we're familiar with some institutions in, let's say in Latin America, with 100,000 students that might have a dropout rate of 30%. There's no way you can support 30,000 students at risk.
You can't scale.
You need an army. You cannot scale. This is where agents actually make it plausible. But the human has to be there. The human has to say, okay, for kids that have these factors that are contributing, whether they might drop out or not.
These risk factors.
Exactly. Right. These risk factors, this is how we intervene. So the human is still there, but you make it scalable through AI.
Interesting. Great. And so the human factor still will always play a role. The AI agentic may be proactively looking at those sort of risk, risk items or risk components. But then at the end of the day, there's got to be a human behind the scenes managing that conversation, managing that reach out, right?
Yeah, there should be. At least I believe, as we're still in a very immature phase, tons of things are happening. This is still evolving. So probably agents are gonna keep maturing and are gonna get closer and closer to being as proactive, and we're gonna start also understanding how far they can go and how close the human has to be. Right now, and something that you mentioned in the previous question, and I don't think I answered, was about governance. It's in the what we've seen, or what we're currently seeing in different institutions, is it's a completely disorganized spectrum today. Everybody's trying LLMs and it's trying to make that scalable. And it's really hard to actually do that if you don't have a strong data foundation. You might be able to simulate some advanced analytics, but you need a strong data foundation. Otherwise, it's just chatbots without having any true governance. So I think we're evolving in different directions, from the data foundation up, but also institutions are understanding how to support different units on how to scale these LLMs.
So in other words, at the end of the day, you might have those chatbots running on its own, but you need, call it a director of orchestra, right? So who is orchestrating all of that? And that's where the governance comes into place.
Yeah.
Is that accurate?
100%. Yeah. 100% accurate.
That's great. Yeah. And makes perfect sense in today's world as we are evolving. And you see a lot of institutions just pushing out, like you said, LLMs and chatbots in there, but there's not really a good orchestration behind the scenes, a good governance around how do you put your arms around, how do you manage those expectations in an effective way, in an orchestrated way across the institution. My next question really goes much deeper into it and has to do from an AI perspective. How is AI, and frankly, agentic AI, supporting areas such as retention, enrollment, learning analytics, and employability, which we know are four of the key KPIs that any institution across the world will be measured, on a daily basis, pretty much.
Yeah. So if we keep a little bit the journey of a student, we're going to start with enrollment. So let's say there's a prospect in a very traditional funnel that is interested in institution, goes to an informational session, it starts the process to be admitted, and so on and so forth. So one of the examples would be if an agent identifies that a prospect is stuck, the agent might proactively send a message saying, hey, Chris, we haven't heard from you. We're still missing your transcript, or we're still missing this or that. So those actions can be taken automatically by agents. And that is changing the game, because now that's scalable. We move to retention. Now the prospect converts. The example that I was sharing with you, the student might be at risk because he has not shown up for his math classes. So instead of having to wait for a human to reach out to the student, now the agent proactively sends a message to the student saying, hey, Miguel, we've seen you've been struggling getting to your math class. Do you know that we have these resources at the university? Click here so you can schedule a tutoring session. And so it gets way closer. In terms of learning, you could proactively, based on the signals that you're leaving behind on the LMS, you could proactively support the faculty with hints on how to provide personalized pedagogical sequences to a particular student. And of course, at the end of the row, how you make money out of all this, it's employability. Just by supporting your graduate or alumni or continuous education, hey, Chris, what are you doing today? I'm working on this. Okay, if you're an analyst, perhaps your next role is going to be a consultant. The AI has the capability of inferring what are the skills that the job is demanding, that the
marketplace
workforce is demanding, the marketplace is demanding, in order to suggest, Chris, these are the skills that you're missing today. Don't worry, this institution has this course or this credential or this diploma for you to maximize your employability.
Yeah.
So those are examples where the agents are at the very end of the analytical spectrum.
So Miguel, would you summarize that AI and agentic AI is helping institutions scale? When you alluded to the example of that institution that has 100,000 students, 30,000 students at a risk, there's no way you can have an army of faculty individuals or advisors reaching out to 30,000 students for a period of time and saying, hey, we see you have an issue here, let me help you out. That's when the agentic AI and the AI can kick in from a scalable perspective, right?
Yeah, 100%. If and only if there's a strong data foundation, there's an analytical layer, and then the agents live on top of that.
Okay. So personalized conversations. In other words, Miguel differently than Chris. If the institution through AI is treating Miguel the same way as Chris, you're not going to have the same effect. You got to be 100%. Personalized, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay. So all that training, all those LLM models need to be trained. And then maybe towards, if we look at it from a funnel perspective and you're scaling those 30,000, maybe 100, or 50 will need a one-on-one conversation with an advisor, but the rest of the 29,000 can be helped through this agentic AI. Make sense?
Yeah, 100%.
Awesome. All right. Next question that we have is really, as we dig in deeper into it, how to evolve towards a more AI native or augmented institution without losing a human-centered, responsible and transparent approach. We touched on that a little bit on the previous question, but from your perspective, how should institutions evolve into that AI native without really losing that human-centered touch? Because at the end of the day, it happens to all of us in our daily routines, whether we're looking to renew our insurance or something else, we don't know whether really this is a chatbot or is a human being behind it, and how to discern from that without losing the trust and that relationship.
Yeah. So I think to truly become an augmented university is way more than integrating LLMs into your daily process. It's more into adapting the current processes that you have. And I'm going to go back to what I just mentioned with a true data foundation. It's not about putting more technology. It's not about having Claude and GPT for everyone. Yep. It's more about how do you modify the process through a strong data foundation that it's going to make you more efficient, more effective, and it's going to personalize the experience for faculty, for students. I think one of the things that, from my perspective, and I would love also to hear your opinion, Chris, that one of the things that higher education institutions need to get is that they cannot compete on content anymore. Content is a commodity. The content is on Claude. The content is on GPT. The content is on Google. They need to compete on the experience, on the pedagogy. And that's going to happen at a scalable way only through AI. I don't think there's any other way to scale with pedagogy and with the experience if it is not integrating AI.
Agree 100%. I think content today is like you said, it's a commodity. It's available anywhere, anytime, at the fingertips for both students and faculty. And I think you're on point that institutions will succeed. Those institutions that have a personalized experience to the student will succeed. And then the other advantage that you have on the flip side on the students is that they expect to have immediate responses. No longer an advisor that calls you 2 days later because you're late on an assignment is acceptable. They want to be able to have accessibility to those tools and interact with the institution via one of these, right? Via a mobile device or a tablet, instantly on it, and be able to be nudged, right? If something is going wrong or they're at risk. That interaction needs to happen real time. And those institutions that I think are able to package it all together in a seamless way that translates into that great student experience. And I want to take a step further, and something that I've been thinking about is ensuring that those students have a great digital experience through their journey at the institution. Make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you. I think many institutions in the very short term are gonna be struggling if they don't take measures now, because this is not an overnight transformation. It takes a lot of effort. It's gonna be way easier to start a new higher education institution than to transform your current institution. I think we're gonna see a disruption with many transactional systems.
Yes.
It's going to be really interesting.
Let me ask you something. This is something just popped into my mind. Do you think the digital experience of an institution might in the future have a direct impact in the enrollment and retention of a student at a particular program?
100%. 100%. It's going to be about, and I'm not, it's not my inspiration, I'm quoting someone, it's physical. It's going to be physical and digital, and it needs to be mixed, and you won't be able to separate like, oh, we have the digital experience and the physical. No, it goes all together, and you're interacting digitally within the physical experience. 100%. I don't have the slightest question.
Yeah, I'm with you too. Getting back a little bit into why AI agents require a strong foundation of data, analytic models, and institutional context. What are your thoughts on why the agents require a strong foundation on data, analytical models, and institutional context to be successful? What are your thoughts on that?
I think at the end, the value of AI is hyper-personalizing the experience for a prospect to convert into student. Hyper-personalizing the experience of the student. Chris, today, if you like, let's say, if you're going to engineering and you're going to take a class of physics and you love football, it's really easy now to personalize your experience to learn about physics with football examples. That's the hyper-personalization that you can do today. And that's just one basic example, but it goes across the whole student experience until you graduate. And then when you graduate, I don't think that's where you cross the line. It ends. No, it doesn't end.
It doesn't.
No.
Like you said before, early in the conversation, that through the AI, you can identify, hey, Chris, I know you're an analyst now, but you want to get to the next level in your professional career. If you take these courses, which by the way, we offer them, virtually or blended at your own pace, starting whatever it is, and we'll give you all the financial aid, all the help in the world. You achieve those skill sets, you can move on to the next role and continue to grow professionally on it. That's
100%.
Sort of the idea of the lifelong learner, right? Where the institution never stops reaching out to that alumni, that he or she continues to be immersed and continues to evolve.
Yeah, and it's also a survival strategy that institutions need to do. You have some countries like Colombia where the demographic shift is just tremendous. There are going to be less kids next year going to university because there are less kids whatsoever that potentially could go to university. Spain has a fertility rate of 1.2.
Oh, wow.
So if higher education institutions don't focus on the lifelong learning, they don't have enough kids to start in 5 years from now or 10 years from now.
To continue.
So that's it's survival.
So the market size is shifting, right? No longer is all those students, there's thousands of millions of families having kids and they go through this machine, high school, and then go into college. That number of students worldwide or in some countries is being reduced, right? For the first time, freshmen coming into an institution. And now you need to focus more on that lifelong learner, that professional who wants to continue to grow in their professional career and needs certain skills that institution is offering them, right? So now it's shifting more, maybe call it more into the continuing education, professional certificates and things like that versus first time in college.
Yeah. And you're going to be as successful marketing your lifelong learning experiences as you are with your data. So if you don't have the data to personalize the experience of your alumni, they will go everywhere. I mean, once you graduate, that's kind of the inertia. But if you have the data, then you can handhold them and say, okay, I'm here with you for life.
And nurture that relationship, nurture that
relationship.
Long-term relationship, right? Trust.
On a hyper-personalized way. How do you do that?
Hyper-personalized way.
a strong data foundation, analytical models, and agentic AI. I'm a big believer. You can see.
I can see that, and you're passionate. Love having conversation with you, Miguel. Another question, what practical lessons have you learned from implementing these type of solutions with institutions in place? What are some of the lessons learned you can share with the audience, whether they're tool specific, whether they're around governance, whether they're around hyper-personalizing that experience for the student, first-time college student or lifelong learner, professional who wants to continue growing in their professional career?
Yeah, I would say the first one, what I've seen on institutions that have done a great transformation towards AI and data and analytics, they start with a very strong domain focus. You don't need to eat the cake at once. So what's the lowest hanging fruit in terms of ability and impact? Is it enrollment? Is it retention? Is it learning? Is it employability? Focus on that domain. Don't try to eat everything at once, but have the long-term vision on how everything is going to connect. So that would be one. And the other, I think higher education institutions need to invest on building a data culture and training their teams with the skills needed to work on data. And when I mean data, it's not just AI, it's just the whole data stack, starting from every single interaction that a student has is a piece of the puzzle on how to be with that student for the long term. Everybody should be data obsessive, if you ask me.
They should all be curators of data within the institution.
100%, that's the best way to put it. And it's we're all talking about AI savvy, training people with AI, prompt engineering. But I think the impact of the LLM, the true impact, comes from feeding the LLM with a data foundation. So you need to take a step back and say, okay, how are we gonna feed the LLM? Otherwise, it's not gonna be scalable. Otherwise, it's just a bot.
Yes. Or it might be having the wrong conversation with the student, misinformed, and that's even worse. Then you talk about distancing yourself or the student having, or the faculty having a bad experience with the institution. I mean, that's at the center of it.
Yeah. Those were my 2 cents.
Yeah, no, great points. Miguel, and this is hindsight is 2020, right? You've been 20 years in higher ed, for the last 10 years driving the growth of Analytikus and experiencing different institutions in different countries with different leadership, different CEOs and provosts. What is your outlook for the next 3 to 5 years? And it's hard to predict because things are changing so fast. I think the pace at which things are changing is repeatedly increasing at a much faster rate than it used to be 5 years or 10 years ago, and it will continue to be even faster moving forward. But from your lens, what is your outlook for the next 3 to 5 years?
I would love to have a crystal ball, my friend. I would love to have it. Honestly, we don't know what's going to happen. So every time you make a prediction, we're all probably wrong. But having said that, I'm going to attempt to predict something. And I'm going to focus that prediction very much in the space of agents, analytics, and data. I think what we're going to see is the space of the agents, the usage of the LLMs is going to start eating the different layers.
Okay.
One of the challenges, and I'll give you a specific example, one of the challenges that institutions have in order to scale their data strategy, for instance, is just extracting the data out of the transactional systems. How do I get the insights from Canvas or Blackboard or D2L? How do I get it from Banner? And these ETLs, it's always been a challenge, is the bottleneck. So I think we're going to start seeing LLM applications that are going to allow you to be way more fluid on extracting the data from Canvas. The companies behind these transactional systems, they will need to get their act together in order to enable this.
And invest, right?
And invest. Instead of hey, let's put a query to extract the data from Canvas or from D2L, just prompt it. Here's a prompt, and it's gonna give you the full query. So once this happens in the next 2 to 3 years, I think there's gonna be a quantum leap in terms of using data and analytics for higher education institutions. And the same way you're gonna see that from the transactional to the, let's say, to the unified data repository, the unified data layer, you're going to see that at the next layer, which is the analytics. Once you have everything here, the LLM is going to support you on using what you have here integrated to say, okay, support me on identifying financial risk. And it's going to help you expedite and create these machine learning algorithms for financial risk for a particular school, for a particular,
So potentially, instead of the traditional model, let's talk about the US market where financial aid Title IV is awarded to students and institutions that are eligible for financial aid. So instead of the typical packaging from semester to semester, which is very cut and dry, maybe through these new LLM models, the institutions or the AI will suggest new financial aid for the following semester based on previous pattern behaviors and data being fed into these new LLM models in a more intelligent way. That could be one example, right?
Absolutely. That would be one of the examples.
Yeah, that will be transformational. I think your word that is what you mentioned, I think is gonna be hyperloop into the next 3 years or so. I think you're right on point. I think we're starting to see a lot of movement parts, and I think the institutions will get their act together. Hopefully, the next 3 years, they'll become people in the institution will become much more aware of the importance of data. They'll be, cleansing more data, and everything that they do, it'll be focused around making sure that the LLMs model are feeding the right information, the right data, that then can be consumed, passed on to the other tiers, and then in a more predictive way, the AI models will be much more advanced. And like you said, it'll be a leap in terms of the services for those institutions. But those are the ones that adopted. I think you're still going to see maybe consolidation of institutions that don't necessarily accept that they need to move to that direction. Some of those maybe will consolidate, some of those maybe will shut down. And I think the consumer, the students will become even more aware and acute of how important it is to have that hyper-personalized experience at that institution if they want to continue retaining those students. Otherwise, they're going to go and look next door.
Yeah, 100%.
Right?
I was going to mention one more thing on this transformation that they need to get it. What we're seeing today is the usage of the LLM, in my words, more like a B2C type of approach. It's giving the individual the extra edge, the efficiency to reply emails but it's not what we're not seeing today at higher education institutions is the B2B, is the augmented university. We're seeing the augmented individuals putting documents together, presentations, videos, marketing.
So not at the enterprise level.
100%.
At the business unit, maybe a specific college at the specific department, but not at the enterprise-wide level.
Yeah, not an enterprise-wide level. And for that to happen, it needs to sit, I'm starting to sound like repeating myself, but you need to have a strong data foundation. Otherwise, it won't be at an enterprise level.
Otherwise, it just gets done from a vacuum perspective at a department level, but not necessarily institutionally wide, which is where institutions and university need to be at one point in time. Miguel, well, this has been super thoughtful and insight. I am sure the audience will appreciate this episode, and we look forward to having you again in the future. Folks, please don't forget to follow us on our YouTube channel, and we look forward for the next episode. And once again, Miguel, thank you so much for joining us, and we look forward to having you in the future.
Thank you, Chris. Appreciate it. Thank you, everyone.